guys? Justin Nelson here again with the Icon Podcast. And today's episode is super special because we have JP with us. And I just wanted to say thank you to JP for joining on. He didn't know this, but I was actually built my team really close to JP's. We shared a border, but there's some really interesting things about JP's episode today that we are going to cover about a very unique market that he's in. And I'm going to tell you, this is one of my probably biggest episodes of excitement, just because you have a lot of unique challenges in your market, JP, that I'm excited to dive in. So I appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's just kind of dive into it, because outside of what other people have told me about you, we had never met before until we just talked offline a few minutes ago. So I'm probably more interested than anybody to learn a little bit more about your story and, just learn, how did JP become a EXP agent in Cheyenne, Wyoming? So I'd love for you to just kind of give us, what is your real estate story and what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, man. So I started this journey back in 2010. I was actually worked as a rental car agent prior to real estate. And, I was probably a lot of, your typical, had 1,000 jobs and didn't really know what I was going to do in life. And you hear so many agents talk about how they just became accidental realtors, like either it was, like they dived into investing and they wanted to get more closer to the deals, and someone said, well, why don't you just get your real estate license? Oh, I guess I never really thought about that, and so they kind of decided, well, I guess I'll just go get my real estate license then. And for me, it was kind of similar to that. I hated my job and was working 50, 60 hours a week and getting up so early in the morning. And, after I was doing the math on, my hourly wage, it was less than minimum wage, and so I was like, gosh, I've got to figure out something. I have 4 kids, and my kids were growing up without a dad, and I was working all these hours. And my wife was like, I feel like I'm a single parent because you're never home, And so I got a real estate license in 2010. I was an investor for a couple of years before that. And same story, I decided that, I needed to get closer to the deals. And she said, hey, you hate your job. You need to go ahead and my sister-in-law told me this because she was visiting at Christmas, and she's like, you just need to get your real estate license. And I'm like, okay, well, I suck at school, so whatever. There's a lot of realtors in our area, so I figured, well, if they could do it, well, this guy could do it too. So I did that for I was with a big box broker. Well, actually, I started with an indie brokerage. I did that for about a year, and then I went to a big box brokerage for 7 years. And I was doing some marketing efforts, and I had a buddy tell me, he's like, dude, we need to get together and partner and do some, Facebook ads and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, show me what you got, whatever. And he's like, I'm working for this guy that's in Israel. And I was like, what? In Israel? And I was like, okay. So apparently he was in the background most of the time until I said, nah, dude, I got to talk to this guy because I have some specific questions. I need to find out what's going on. And, Ron's going to kill me, but I'm going to do it anyways. He's like, JP, what are you doing right now? And I was like, what do you mean, what are you doing right now? He's like, you're with this big bucks brokerage paying all these fees. And I was like, I know. And he's like, you should come to EXP. And I'm like, EXP? What is that? So he tells me the whole story about it, and he tells me all the cool stuff that they're doing. And then he tells me about the splits and everything. And I just started getting fired up because I was like, dude. He's like, I was in an office of 84 agents at the time. And I worked myself up to number 3 in the company. And I was looking at my checks, and I was like, man, these paychecks is just ridiculous. I mean, when they told me how much I was paying the brokerage, I was like, dude, there's got to be a better way. And of course, everybody that reaches EXP always is asking themselves, there's got to be a better way to do real estate, And so, he's like, but you work from home. And I was like, working from home. And I was like, how people do, they get you, they work that in. You're like, you got to have an office, and you got to be able to show up to work and da, da, da. And I was like, but it's going to cost you so much money. And I was like, man, this is a really expensive office, And so I'm like, so I'm sitting there doing the math, and I'm like, nope, not doing it. For the price of the money, I could have 3 assistants for the money that I'm paying these guys. And I was duplicating all of their efforts. So I was doing all my own marketing. I had my own CRM. I had my own assistant. So I wasn't even using any of the office amenities, if you will. Plus I was paying a huge split and office bill, all these things. So I'm like, okay. I was like, dude, show me what you got. He sent me this video, and I think it was like that underground EXP video that wasn't like officially sanctioned by EXP. And
The
I
one,
was
the one you can't find
the one,
anywhere.
yeah, exactly. You had to,
Right
you couldn't
person.
search for it. Somebody had to send you a link in order to get it. Yeah, that one. So I'm like, dude. And then there's like, oh, there's this multi-level marketing aspect to the whole thing. And I'm like, that's right up my alley, dude, because you know how thinkers like me that think like there's got to be a better way, I always have a little side hustle going. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do a little Tupperware. I'll do a little, Scentsy over here, or
Little
some
Cutco
other
knife.
thing, some recruiting effort, And, I was with Mel Luca for like 20 years and all this stuff. And so I always had a little something going on. So I get that whole concept. And I was like, yeah, but real estate's an easy conversation to have. So all of these things. And I was like, but dude, I'm so busy. I had like 5 deals going and I was like, man, I don't know. And so he's like, you got to do this, JP, put it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do fine. And if you know anything about Middle East, they will like negotiate you till you die, till your skin falls
Like to
off.
this day, he would still be negotiating with you if you weren't at EXP.
Oh, dude, oh yeah, he's like, if you don't do this, I will kill you. No, I was kidding. No. So I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna put a date on it. So I put a date on it, and it was the craziest thing. I had 5 deals fall in my lap in this 30-day time frame. I closed all 5 of them in that 30 days. I started with EXP. I ended up doing 11 deals my first month at EXP. And I was like, man, this is the place to be. Like, I don't know what it is, but the energy is just so different, and for me, it was just like, it was like the thing that I was supposed to do. And so I get over to EXP, and then I just started doing deals, and I get a random email, and they said, you qualify to be an Icon agent. And I was like, dude, I didn't even get half the story.
Oh, so
Like,
you're a lot like me. When I came to EXP, I didn't even know what the icon was. I was like, icon what?
Yeah. And then they're like, oh man, I was like, dude, okay. So they're like, and we're going to give you like stocks, and we're going to give you like all this stuff. And then we're going to gift you back your commission. And then, it's only going to cost you like $5,000 to Icon. I was like, wait, what? And then they're like, oh, and then, because when I first started, I was so sick of a franchise fee that I didn't buy stock the first 4 months I was in the business. Man, that was a mistake.
Just a little bit.
I was just so sick of it. I was like, oh, I don't want another fee, But then after this guy was telling me, he's like, dude, do the math. It's like if you go to a business and they give you 401k, like you take that junk, And I'm like, all right. So I went back, signed up for it all, and thank God I did, because I still snuck in there when stocks were like $7. And so I was like, and now it's like through the roof. And so I'm like, basically EXP paid me last year. Like it was stupid. Like I can't, and working from home is way better than working in the office. Cause I'm like, after I finally realized, okay, if I can get the 8 minutes, cause here it takes 8 minutes to drive to work. I'm sure where everybody else drives is like 30, 40 minutes, hour. If you can get all that time back from commuting to work and be productive, I mean, that's all your time blocking hours right there. Like all of your prospecting and sphere of influence and, and leads, that's all of your time. If you just capture that and say, forget running around all over the place. And, if anybody's grabbing this for the first time and they're going, I just got to have an office, then your mind is in the wrong space.
So what? So just to repeat that, if the guy JP is saying 8 minutes drive is saving him time and making him money, for all of you listening, if your time is above that, you have no excuses that you need an office.
None whatsoever. I had a gal, I was like this close to getting her to come to EXP, and she just goes, JP, I get it. I get the numbers and I get the math and I get it all, but I just have to have an office. And I said, it's unfortunate. And when you're ready, we'll still be here, but you're never going to reach your maximum potential when you have little goofy things like that that are blocking you from reaching your full potential. And you know, and I was like, if math doesn't do it for you, and you know, along with publicly traded company and along with Icon and along with, you know, being having access to anybody in the company at any given time you want, and you don't have to go anywhere, you know, and then COVID hits and we're all like, we were made for this. You know, you hear that often, you know, we were made for this. And the reality of it is that, you know, it's no, COVID just helped us be better of where we were already at, you know. And you know, I have a gal that was just, she's like, I've gone, you know, Pennsylvania, I don't know if anybody knows this, but they're still locked down, like as if they're in like COVID jail.
Super lockdown, yeah.
And I mean, if you're in Pennsylvania and you're watching this right now, call me because we need to help you out. Because she's like, well, we're from here on out, we're virtual. And I was like, well, don't reinvent the wheel. You know, it's you know, if you want to build a better car, you got to have like, you know, Elon Musk kind of money. But outside of that, like, you don't need to reinvent the vehicle. Like, everybody's already doing it better than you can do it. And, you know, and that's where I look at it like this. It's like, you know, people are making, oh, we're making small changes at the office. And I'm like, just have it turnkey. Just turn the key and go, you know? Like, when I first got my real estate license, they told me, like, here's your keys, here's your office, go figure it out. You don't need to figure it out here at all. You just show up, have a good time, have fun, I mean, I have more fun and less stress because, you know, I am in my I'm at my home studio in my basement right now. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you, man. What else you got?
I love that, man. I love that. So I would love to. So you kind of already answered some of the questions I was going to ask you about, like what drew you to EXP, and you kind of already hinted at the home away from the office, and you know your story of how they got you over. So I would love to hear about you watched that underground video, probably something very close to something called EXP Explained. But I would love to hear, was there anything that they didn't tell you about that when you got to EXP? You're like, holy cow, that exists. And I'd love to hit on the icon first, because it sounded like you didn't know a lot about the icon. So some people in my area of Northern Colorado and my following across the nation may be going, JP, what is the icon? So could you explain in your market roughly how many homes you had to sell to qualify for icon and what financial benefit it gave you?
Sure. So in my market, it's roughly 30 homes to reach icon. It's 20 houses after you reach your initial, I think it's 30 or 32, 12 houses I think we have to sell to cap out. And then it's another 20 houses after that. So our average price point right now is more than what it was when I iconed the first time, but it's like $298 right now. So it's even a little bit less than that. I think 9 houses you can cap out. What's cool is once you reach icon status, your transaction fee drops down to $75. And so, you know, a lot of people's barriers are like, yeah, but if you're a super high producer, that $250 gets really expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but at 75, you can't even hire staff for that to do your files for you, dude. So
no, it makes total sense. So you hit icon after 30 deals. What was the stock price roughly at when they gave you $12,000 worth of stock back?
It was like $7, seven,
Wow.
7, and then it was just creeping on 8. And then I think when I went to EXPCon last year, it was just right around $9 a share.
Wow.
And now I think I checked it this morning; it's at $38 a share.
And
So I'm just saying, I mean, we're creeping up to 100, and you know, and here's the thing: like, this is one of the biggest things that when I saw the EXP model is that you know, I missed the Google opportunity. I didn't invest in Google when it was $90 a share. I missed the Apple opportunity when they were like at $15. You know, I missed the Facebook, and I was making some money then, and it was at $24 a share. I think when they first IPO'd, it was like $24. And when I saw EXP, I'm like, I am not going to screw this up this time. Not happening. I'm not going to miss out on another Apple opportunity. And, and I've got some friends of mine that are not even in the real estate business and they're investing in EXP stock right now because they're like, dude, you know, like if it's at 38 and they're projecting 100, like I'm on it
Yeah,
down.
I'm on it. I'm
I'm
all
on
in,
it.
man.
I mean, and just think, I mean, if we hit a Apple opportunity and we're at $498 and they got to split it 4 ways, like they just did like last week,
Yeah, that's
you know,
crazy.
like it's a no-brainer. Like, don't look at it from the outside. Look at it from the inside, man. The
I
grass is
love it.
definitely greener on
I
the
love it, man.
inside.
So a
So,
question I have is, so a market like yours, so for those that are not familiar with Cheyenne, Wyoming, look it up on a map, not a massive population. And I know a lot of people listening here may be in a market similar to yours. And so when you're looking at it from an outside inside look, a lot of people in smaller markets, they don't have the information or they may not even have heard of EXP and they might be a little scared of, well, what are my customers going to think? Or what is my team going to think if I go to a brokerage that isn't as well known? Because you said you were the top 3 out of 83 rough agents. Like 83 agents in an office in Cheyenne, Wyoming is massive. That is like massive. And so can you kind of talk to me about some of the concerns you had or how you got over those, or if you didn't have them, or like, what would you tell someone listening right now that's like, my market's not big enough for me to make that jump yet. It's too risky.
so here's the thing, like you need 2 things. You need confidence in yourself. You need to be able to know that your abilities and skills and your ability to talk to people is going to outweigh any brokerage that you're at. Okay. So that's number 1. And number 2 is you need a mentor. You need somebody that can show you, if you haven't been in the business for a long time and you're just getting started, like you need to have somebody that comes alongside you. And what's cool about EXP is if you haven't ever done any deals or you decided to be a solo agent rather than joining a team, they're going to assign you a mentor for your first 5 deals. And so, and these are skilled agents that have been doing it and they have the similar stories just like yours. And so when you jump on board, they're going to walk you through the whole process, how to have conversations, how to work the contracts, prospecting and making phone calls, script training, all that stuff. And then on top of that, EXP has like 45, 50 plus hours a week of training online on anything you can think of. So, they've basically said, we've heard your excuses. We've heard them all. We know them all. We were there just like you. Every one of us was a brand new agent one day. And so they recorded all of this stuff so you could do it on demand. You can do it live. You can do it on your phone. You can do it, wherever. And so they've broken down all of the excuses that there aren't any.
I love that. I love that. I was just talking about with someone else this morning about how, like, if you're at like probably your old office or an office similar, like if you were virtual or you had kids or you had to miss a meeting, the best chance you had at a replay was if Joe or Susie, hopefully that probably didn't know how to work their phone in the back, made a Facebook Live for you that you probably couldn't even hear. Like that was really
Right.
The only way to get training. And like, not to like make this come off wrong for a small market, but sometimes smaller markets, your access to information is smaller. Like you were telling me that EXP is rocking Cheyenne's world because some of this information that's been in bigger markets is just now getting to people out there. And so you guys are now able to tap into information in big time markets. And I believe you guys have an advantage over a lot of your small mom and pop brokerages.
Oh, we have a huge advantage. And one of the cool things is, a lot of people look at, small populations as a disadvantage. But the thing about it is that when you're in a small town or a small market, you're in an island, so, the world is your oyster. You have no competition. If you look at it from that perspective, you don't have huge companies coming in trying to swallow up your town because they don't look at it as where you're at as an opportunity. And, and if you look at it from an abundance mindset, there's more than enough deals going around. And I always tell people, I said, do you double side every single one of your deals? And they go, well, no. And I said, well, then there's an opportunity there that you missed out on somehow. Somehow you didn't market enough. Somehow you didn't get a wide enough reach. Somehow you didn't, do something that didn't attract that buyer for your property. And so I always look at it like this: unless you're double siding every single one of your deals, then you have huge opportunities for growth. Because I guarantee you, if like somebody like Donald Trump or somebody walked up and said, I'm selling this house, he's going to double side that deal right now, right now, not even an option, you know? And so, you know, you gotta, if you can reach that, you know, and you can be a local celebrity very quickly in smaller markets, because people aren't doing Facebook videos, YouTube, you know, 3D tours, podcasts and all that stuff. And I suggest anybody that's listening today, if you don't have a podcast, I mean, it's your voice and you have 100% control. And so if you're not doing one, you need to start one a day. But if you do it, you got to commit, because, you know, it's kind of like TV, you know, every time you turn the TV on, it's always on, right? So your podcast needs to always be on. So
I love that, man. So I'd love to pick your brain on that. So how are you using your podcast to further what you're trying to get accomplished? I honestly don't know a ton about your podcast. I listened to an episode or two, but like outside of like, what are you doing currently with your podcast?
So, my podcast is always like evolving. So when I first started, it was just really just me and another guy, and we just wanted to interview like local, like people. And we did that probably for about 20 episodes. And then it just kept evolving. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do something like an icon thing like you're doing. And so that kind of went down that path. And then all of a sudden I started getting people just reaching out to me, you know, like, hey, I want to be a guest on your podcast. So I've got people from other brokerages like reaching out and stuff like that. So I think it's, you know, I'm just going to take a book from, you know, a page from, you know, Jeff Cohen's book, and just make it about being professional and doing business and being in the real estate space, you know, because at the end of the day, like, it's just really about being valuable, giving value. If anybody listens to your podcast, you know, and they want to get something valuable out of it, they want to take action, that's fantastic. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, we're all in this together. We really are. We're here to help people get homes, the biggest purchase they're ever going to make in their life. And we just want to give value, you know, and if that's, you know, because they wanted to use EXP agent, or if that's because they wanted to use, you know, KW or whatever it is, I mean, we're here to give value. And at the end of the day, like, we all have to work in this together in order to create a really fantastic real estate experience.
Love that. I love that. So tell me a little bit about, I'd love to hear your experience being a part of EXP in a state that's relatively newer to the EXP realm with a smaller crowd. And I know you guys got massive plans to blow that up. So number one, if you guys are in JP's market or in any market across the United States and you align, you know, if you like the energy of JP, like, I'm going to put some information below on how you can get a hold of him, because people can align with you, right? Like, even if they're not in Wyoming, they can still find a way to align with you, be mentored by you. Kind of tell me a little bit about how you do that and kind of, you know, some of the benefits of people aligning with you.
Yeah. So, you know, especially, you know, if you're looking to, be part of something where you feel like you haven't had the attention that you feel like you deserve. You know, I'm available. I have a team of 9 agents, and I have a full-time admin. And, you know, what we do for our teammates is we coach and train. We have a morning huddle every morning at 8:30. Monday through Friday, unless, you know, there's some crazy stuff going on we have to cancel. But for the most part, I mean, we dive into what's going on with your business. How can we help? Are you running across anything crazy right now? We run contests. We do, we will be doing, and we already did, we do 4 big events every year. And we just COVID threw a wrench into most of that. But we're throwing a big Halloween party in October regardless. So I don't know how everybody's going to be wearing a mask because it's Halloween. So that will be a non-issue. And, and so that's kind of our big thing. You know, I like the hybrid model. So like, people that are in our area, you know, we'll meet with Zoom, you know, basically Monday through Thursday. If I start branching out into other states, which is on the horizon, we'll probably do a hybrid of a physical meeting with, you know, a Zoom camera in the room so that people can get a feel for the energy and stuff like that. But that's kind of our biggest thing right there. We offer lots of cool things. Like, we have lead gen, you know, we script training. You know, I'm a big fan of scripts. You know, there are some coaches out there that are like, nah, dude, just make it up as you go. And the more you make it up, the better you get. And I'm like, okay, so then how many of those deals did not close because you were just making it up? You know, and so, yeah. So that's my big thing right now. You know, yeah.
I love that, man. So tell me, it's kind of an off-topic question here. For someone that has a family and in the past, you're probably a lot like myself. You've heard it from your family members, like Justin, you're not present. Like this is why you're going into real estate. The whole 9 yards. Like, how is EXP, or what are you doing differently now that you're in this position, having fun, a lot less stress? How has that affected your ability to spend more time with your family and be more present? And what is kind of like the thing that you do to reset yourself in that world and kind of unplug for a bit?
Sure. So the one thing to be more present is I work from home, number one. So I know a lot of professionals will hide in their offices. My office is in my basement, so my kids will come in here anyways, so there's that. Number two is that it's convenient, that if I need to work and be present, I can set aside, 15, 20 minutes, run down to my office, take care of what I need to take care of. And then I can run back upstairs and, be with my family. So that is probably the one thing that really has helped. The other is I just recruited my wife to become a real estate agent too. So she's licensed, and so she gets to share my world. So she understands like exactly what I'm doing. But I mean, obviously that's not going to work for everybody, but, I mean, so really, by creating my team, I have some controls over the things that we do. And so, if it's not going to work on a weekend, I just don't plan things around that weekend, and I think that's probably one of the coolest things about having a team is then I can get all my teammates to rally around that kind of stuff too. And we usually try to make sure that our teammates are part of the process. And so they're not just be like, well, I didn't hear about that, so screw you guys, and so then what do I do to reset? I mean, one is I listen to a lot of other people's podcasts too. So just to help me stay in the mental space of like why I do what I do. And I also try to leave about 5 times a year, for a week or longer. And the more that I get more confident in creating predictable revenue, is the goal is that to be gone up to 3 months a year.
I love that. I love that. Do you have any favorite places that you guys go?
Yeah, we go to Florida like once a year, and we go to Arizona once a year for sure. Those are 2 places we definitely go. And we had a big trip planned. We were going to be gone for almost 3 weeks in March. And of course, our friendly friend, COVID-19 decided to creep up. And of course, Italy was the hot spot. Italy and Spain was like,
oh, is that where you were going?
yeah. And of course, we had to go to both of those,
Yeah.
make sure that we at least got part of COVID, at least while we were there, so we could bring something back for everybody. But yeah, so we were still going to go up until they're like, nah, even the travel industry said, nah, it's too much of a risk. Because if you get there, they said basically you won't get back. So
yeah, like, you might have still been there right now.
I could have gotten my real estate license in Spain though. That might have been all right.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Slinging some villas,
I love that. I love that. So let me ask you kind of another question. Like for someone like yourself, like when you were looking at other companies, you had someone luckily like hounding you to do it. Now, not everybody listening today has someone hounding them to do it. So like they need to do their own research. They need to maybe take some initiative to see if it's even right for them, because it's not going to be right for everybody. What do you advise if someone calls you and goes, hey, JP, I'm looking at EXP. What steps do you tell them to take to see is EXP a good fit for them?
Sure. The first thing I would say is, I'll send you the video. Gives you the quick rundown. It's going to initiate a lot of questions, and then from there, I would say, pop in on one of our virtual meetings in the world, and we'll get you a guest pass. You can come in and check it out. And we also have agent resources in the world, and we can show you how to get there. If anybody's familiar with like Nintendo Wii, like you're going to be able to, create your avatar and walk around in the world and stuff like that. It's like Mario Land or something, and you can just create your person and go talk to whoever you want to talk to. And all of our corporate office people are available in there. So, You can just go in there, take a ticket, ask all the questions, the high, deep, high level back office type questions. And, I just had a gal that I recruited over, and she, her biggest regret was she didn't do it a year ago when I talked to her the first time,
Me
and
too. Me too. Like
yeah,
5 years ago.
yeah. And, and the thing is, like, this is one scenario that, delivers on exactly what has been told. Sometimes you do some stuff and you get there and you're like, this is not exactly what I was told, and this is not close to that. But coming from a guy that was in big box brokerage for 7 years, thinking that this was the only way to do real estate and being naive. I mean, I had a gal 4 years ago. She was like, oh, I'm with the EXP Realty. And I was like, oh yeah, who's that? I never heard of them. And she's like, oh, they're awesome. It's a cloud brokerage, and 80-20 splits from day one. And I'm like, there's no way they're making money.
They're not
That was
surviving.
that was where my brain went. And I was like, who am I to judge that they're not making any money? Like, who am I to say that? Like, they're not going to be around, whatever the reason was, because it was just so, like, it was such a good split that I was like, they ain't making any money. So anyways, next, and so for me, it was like, now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, God, it was naive, just naive,
No.
I mean, ignorance is bliss, but, you can stay there if you want. But at
I
the end
love
of the
that.
day,
I love that, man. So when people make the transition over, obviously 2020 is kind of exemplified how great EXP is and how we didn't really have to change anything. That was the big thing. People think that EXP made these changes to go virtual. Like, no, it's been that way for years. And so can you kind of talk about, like, what are your guys' goals as a team? Like, what are your plans to take over I mean, I know you're going to go into other states, but like, what are your goals within EXP? Are you going to keep growing the team, or, what are your big goals? Do you want to step out of production one day? I'd love to just kind of hear what's on the horizon for JP.
Yeah, so my big plans are, I want to get to 600 transactions a year. And once I kind of get to 600 transactions a year, then from there, I'm going to probably step out of production and just coach and train full time. Because that's what I love to do. I like to be able to see, like, new agents join our team and then be able to see them be successful and know that the principles and the things that I did, that I learned along the way, are actually working, and being able to see how, it's played out through our agents. And then, I want to promote somebody within to basically run the team, and want to start working on some ancillary products and stuff too. I definitely want to get into title and do some insurance. And then I've also got an investment arm that I already have right now. I just want to grow that investment arm, and do some acquisition there, and start doing some big things and do some new construction and a few things like that as well. So, but our biggest goal is to get 33% of the market.
I love that.
And if you check out my page, you might see some hats and stuff I'm wearing that has 33%. And there's a long story with that. I don't know if you want me to get into it, but basically it's, in order for us to make an impact in our community, we want to be a part of 33% of all the transactions that go through our market. So
that is awesome. And I'll make sure to put that website down below here, because I know you provided it to us. So go check that out. I'll be honest with you. I've never been on a podcast, and I've been on a few hundred of them, that anybody has wanted 33% of a market or had the confidence that they're able to do it like you have. So I appreciate and really like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a measurable number that we can, and you can accomplish this. And that's what's the beauty of being in a smaller market, is you can actually pick a number and say, you know what, I can tackle that. Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, as we kind of wrap up here, I want to remind people, if you want to partner with JP, check down below. For those that aren't familiar with Wyoming, like, is it fair if I can just send everybody that has a Wyoming referral to you? And even if it's outside of your scope, you probably know someone that you can refer it out to.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, JP, I just want to say I really appreciate you being on here today. Just to kind of recap, JP, if you sell more than 30 homes in your market, EXP is basically paying you to be at the company. In a lack of better terms, right? You're getting money to be there.
Absolutely. Yep.
I love
Where
it,
else
man.
can you go to get that? I don't know.
I don't know where you can get it. So if you guys are listening, just like we talk about on every single episode, these people are being paid to be at EXP. It's not a myth. It's not some legend out there. You're hearing episode after episode in big markets, in small markets, in all sizes of markets. So JP, I just want to say first off, I appreciate you talking about this. I know a lot of people listening follow me in Northern Colorado, since that's where I built our real estate team. And a lot of them are duly licensed. So if you guys are listening to this, call JP, pick his brain. He is the expert in that area, and really anywhere across the nation. I mean, I think really you'd be willing to partner with anyone, no matter the state, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just hit me up, call me, text me, email me. I'm around, or just Google.
I love it. Google it. You'll find his podcast. You'll find all of that information below as well. So JP, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and away from your family and from your business for a little bit to share.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Well, as always, guys, signing off from the Icon Podcast. Until the next episode, have a great week. And hey, don't forget to consider EXP.